I never in a million years thought that my girlfriend, whose education I had been helping to fund throughout her entire time at school, would betray me in such a way. I had done everything in my power to assist her, including paying her tuition and tending to her essential requirements, as she had been having difficulty performing academically. In the present, when I think back to that time period, I am filled with a sense of melancholy and regret. However, I also have the impression that the experience has made me more resilient. I've realized the importance of putting my own sense of value first and being more selective about the people in whom I place my trust. It was the final semester of my college senior year, and I needed to borrow some books in order to prepare for the upcoming exams. After hearing that the school library had a significant collection, I decided to go check it out for myself. On the way to the library was the first time I had the opportunity to see her. At one of the tables, she could be seen reading intently from a book. It was impossible for me not to notice how beautiful she was, what with her wavy hair and sparkling eyes. I went up to her and inquired about the possibility of receiving assistance from her in locating the books that I needed. As she looked up at me, her friendly smile immediately drew my attention. Sarah came up to me and offered her assistance after she had introduced herself. During our search for the books, we got into a conversation with one another. I was surprised to learn that she was currently in her second year of studying English. Because we shared so many interests and perspectives, we quickly found ourselves exchanging phone numbers and making plans to learn together. Over the course of the following few weeks, we committed a significant amount of time to spending together, during which we studied, explored the campus, and got to know each other better. I couldn't help but develop feelings for her, and it was clear that she had the same thoughts. We didn't have to wait long before we could officially call ourselves a couple, and our connection only got stronger as the days went by. She quickly became my closest friend, and I could confide in her about anything. When I think back on it, I'm thankful that we happened to run into each other in the library. I will be eternally grateful for the day I went to the school library to borrow some books because it introduced me to the person who would become the love of my life. Everything was running smoothly, and I didn't want to be hurried or rushed beyond what is typical for the situation. If she hadn't been able to concentrate and get the job done, I would have pushed harder for us to get married. I made the decision to hold off until she had finished her education. As the end of my senior year of college drew near, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment in my academic achievements. After putting in a lot of effort over the course of 4 years, I was almost finished with my degree in engineering. But there was one person I knew wouldn't be graduating with me, my girlfriend Sarah. I had to say goodbye to her. In school, she was a year behind me, and she had a lot of work to do before she could earn her degree in English. Regardless of the circumstances, I was resolved to assist her in any way that I could. My new position at a tech company was fantastic, and I was confident that I would be able to put my earnings toward helping her cover her educational and living expenses while she was still in school. Over the course of the following year, I willingly took on the role of being the sole provider for our relationship. I made sure that I could provide for the two of us by working a lot of overtime and putting in extra effort at my job. Even though it wasn't always simple, knowing that Sarah was putting in a lot of effort and making progress in her studies made everything worthwhile. I was happy for her because I could see how hard she was working to accomplish what she set out to do. As the date of Sarah's graduation drew closer, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of excitement and anxiety. I had a feeling that she would achieve a lot, and I was glad that I could contribute in some way to her accomplishments. While Sarah was still attending classes at the university, she made a fresh set of acquaintances and began to socialize with them. At first, I didn't give it much thought because I assumed that they were just classmates who had interests that were similar to mine. On the other hand, Sarah's behavior started to alter as time went on. She made an effort to spend more time with her new friends, but this led to her skipping classes and slacking off in her studies. I was at a loss to understand what was going on. Her commitment to furthering her education seems to be waning, and she is no longer the book lover that she used to be when I knew her. I quickly came to the conclusion that Sarah's friends constituted a negative influence on her. They thought that reading and studying were both a waste of time, and they urged her to spend her time attending parties and socializing instead of reading and studying. I was concerned about her, but whenever I voiced my worries, she downplayed them and reassured me that she had everything under control. She did not become aware of the effects of her actions on her academic performance until her grades started to suffer. She came to me one day clearly distressed and upset, and she confessed that she had chosen the wrong friends in the past. I tried to console her and encourage her to get her life back on track by reminding her of the importance of her education and the goals she had set for herself. I believed that everything would be resolved, and that Sarah would be able to get back on her feet and return to being the good girl that I used to know. However, despite our best efforts and the advice of others, the situation has not improved beyond the confines of our communication. Throughout our conversation, she displays a yielding attitude, which suggests that she pays no attention to the guidance and recommendations I offer. As Sarah advanced in her studies, the content of her coursework became progressively more challenging for her. Her grades did not improve despite the fact that she spent countless hours in the library, poring over books and notes. One day, she discussed her issues in confidence with a friend, and that friend informed her about a professor at the school who had a reputation for assisting students in passing their exams on the condition that they were willing to have an affair with him. She was shocked when she learned this information. When Sarah informed me of this, I was stunned and disgusted by what I heard. It was completely unethical, and I couldn't believe anyone would even consider doing something like that. I couldn't believe anyone would even think of doing something like that. On the other hand, Sarah was in a hopeless situation. She had the impression that she had no other options, so she was prepared to do anything it took to pass her tests and continue her education. I tried to convince her that it was unethical and that she shouldn't compromise her morals just to get a better grade, but she wouldn't listen to me. She was adamant, and I could see desperation in her eyes. But she continued to insist. After some time, Sarah came to the conclusion that she should have an affair with the professor. She never disclosed any personal information to me, despite the fact that at the time she was having sexual relations with the instructor. Over the course of time, Sarah and I became less and less close to one another. She appeared to be keeping a secret because she was constantly distracted and appeared to be busy. One day, I made the decision to confront her about it. I asked her if there was anything she needed to talk to me about, or if there was anything troubling her. But she did not respond. I invited her to come see me at some point, and I'm very happy that she did so. It was very nice to have her company. I had every intention of getting the house in order and looking presentable for her visit, and I even went shopping to get things ready for her arrival at home. But what actually took place was beyond my wildest imagination. I had no idea that the way my relationship with Sarah would come to an end would be so tragic. The lady has devoted her efforts throughout her entire life to capturing and taking care of me, to ensure that she does not experience feelings of inferiority related to her academic performance. I put in a full 7 hours of work each day. I was patient with her and actively involved in getting her through school and keeping her attention. When I found out about her affair with the professor, I was taken aback because she had never given me any reason to anticipate that she would do anything negative. It was just another ordinary day, and Sarah had forgotten about her phone while she was in the shower. While I was scrolling through her messages, I came across an extremely inappropriate conversation that she was having with the professor. As I read through the messages, my stomach dropped and my heart sank as I saw for the first time the specifics of their affair and how it had continued for a much longer period of time than I had anticipated. Sarah had violated not only my trust, but also our connection to one another. I confronted her about it after she got out of the shower, and at first she denied everything I said. When I showed her the evidence, however, she broke down into tears and admitted that she was telling the truth. It was hard for me to believe that she had kept something so significant and upsetting from me for such a long time. It felt like a complete betrayal on their part. After that, everything between the two of us changed. After that, I could no longer put my faith in her, and it was difficult for me to view her in the same light. I had reached a point beyond anger and hurt. The fact that the professor had abused his position of power in order to take advantage of vulnerable students like Sarah made the situation even more precarious. I was aware that I needed to take action in order to put an end to this situation. And as a result, I made the difficult decision to report the professor to the administration of the school. Even though I knew it would be challenging, I went ahead and did it anyway. The administration of the school opened an investigation, and it didn't take long before they found evidence of the professor's inappropriate behavior in the classroom. He was terminated on the spot, and as a direct result, his reputation was damaged. On the other hand, due to Sarah's involvement in the scandal, the school decided to kick her out of the school. It was a severe punishment, but in light of the facts, I couldn't help but feel that it was appropriate in the circumstances. I knew our relationship had come to an end after Sarah's affair with the professor and subsequent expulsion from school. It was a difficult decision, but I knew I needed to move on with my life and focus on my own goals and dreams. I couldn't bear the weight of what had happened between us any longer, and I needed to find my own sense of closure. It was difficult to let go of someone I had loved so much, but I knew it was the right thing to do. I wished her luck in her future endeavors and hoped she would be able to forge her own path in life. In my case, I concentrated on advancing my career and pursuing my personal goals. I knew I had to take charge of my own life and make the most of the opportunities that presented themselves to me. It wasn't easy, but I was adamant about succeeding. I worked hard, persevered through adversity, and eventually met my objectives. Looking back on that time in my life, I can't help but be grateful for the lessons I learned. It taught me the value of standing up for what is right, even when it is difficult, and the importance of perseverance in the face of adversity.